Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. Crystal here. I'm here because I wanted to make you another video. I've been working on a video last night, or I've been working on a program last night and this morning as well, and I wanted to make you a video on it. And so this program is also to do with the COVID-19, but what we're going to do is we're going to predict the new deaths of COVID-19, and we're going to predict it as a multivariant, whereas when we were predicting the new cases of COVID-19, we were predicting it as a univariate problem, but on the new deaths, we're going to predict it as a multivariate problem, and I'm going to go over the code review with you on this. So I was working on this last night and this morning, and we'll just see how it goes in the code review. The first thing we did was we took the data set off of the Our World in Data website. Now this data set is updated every day. So every day that you work on this COVID-19 problems, you have to make sure that you've uploaded the most current data set. And I also uploaded the data set onto my Google Drive. I understand there's actually a data set on GitHub that people can use if they want to use that, which is updated every day. But I haven't used that data set. I'm just using the Our World in Data set and saving it onto my Google Drive. I created the program on Google Colab and created it on Google Colab because it's an online Jupyter notebook, which I can use on any computer that has internet installed on it, internet access, and I can get onto Google. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using Google Colab. And then what I did was, after I had written the program, I downloaded it onto my GitHub account. So you're actually looking at my GitHub account as I go over the code review. So since I was using Google Colab and the libraries are already installed on Google Colab, all I had to do was import them. So I imported Pandas and NumPy, which are the two most common libraries. And then what I did was I read the files. And so I read the CSV file that's actually stored on my Google Drive. And so you can see the CSV file is 52 columns. So it's got a lot of information in it that you can work with. I did a test because I wanted to see the info, and you can see the info. There are a few object columns, but the most of them are floats. So that's good. Now what I wanted to do is because I'm living in the UK, so I wanted to see how UK status is with COV19. So I filtered out only the UK, and then so I've got a data set of only the UK. And then what I wanted was I made a data set. I made a multivariate data set called UK New Deaths, because what we want to do is we want to determine the deaths, whereas the previous blog post that I made and the previous website that I made was talking about new cases. Well, this website is talking about new deaths, and the blog post is going to be talking about new deaths as well. So since I'm using Facebook Profit is very specific on what they want the columns to be named. They want the date column to be called DS, the target column to be called Y, and any additional columns to be add 1, add 2, etc. So I had to rename the columns. So what I did was I made a graph of the target variable. So this is a graph of the deaths. So you can see that when the graph started out the deaths started out really high, which is why we had a lockdown. And then after we had the lockdown, they eased up on the lockdown because the deaths were lowering. But then the deaths started increasing again, and we had another lockdown. But it still hasn't really helped us that much. And the reason why is because this virus has mutated. There's 3 different mutations of COV19. One is coming out of London, another is coming out of South Africa, and another is coming out of a northern African country. And the mutation coming out of London is very infectious, which is why we have had more deaths. Okay, and then so what we wanted to do was we want to split our time series, and then we want to predict upon the next month. So the next month we created a data frame and called it next month. And so we've got a data frame just with the month. And so the next month is going to be January, I believe it is. The next month, yeah, it's going to be January. But when we enter into the new year, if I'm still working on this data set, then we'll have to change the next month to February. So, and then what we had was we created a column calling it new case. And what I had to do was I added the maximum new case value, and I had to do it that way because when I tried to use medium, I just got all zeros. So because I knew, well, that's not right, so I had to use the maximum. So we had to rename our columns on the test data set. So we had DS and add 1. And the Y column is what we're going to be predicting on. And so now we split up our X data set. So X train equals UK new death.log. UK death DS is less than 2020-12-01. And then X val is less than is greater than or equal to 2020-12-01. And then X test is greater than or equal to 2021-01-01. So, because at the moment we've not got into the new year, and because we've not got into the new year, we're working on January as our test set. But when we move into the new year, we'll have to change it so that February is our test set. So now we've got FB profit, and as you can see, that the model looks a little bit different than the previous model because we added a column called add regressor, add 1. And then so this is our forecast. You can see our forecast here, and that's our validation set that we're forecasting on. But you can see what we're looking for is, let me just see this. What we're looking for is Y hat. That's what we're looking for. And this is our validation set. So we put it on our RMS. Our RMS is 275, and you can see that that's much better than the RMS we had when we were working on new cases. So this is a much better RMS because we had an extra column to work with. We had the date, and then we had new cases, and then we had to predict upon new deaths. So since we had an extra column to predict upon, we've got a lot more improved root mean square error. So we created a data frame for that, so you can compare the actual levels with the predicted levels, and then you can compare that. And then we've made a chart of that. So we've made a chart of the X train and X val. We made some more charts, and you can see, but for some reason it didn't get picked up on GitHub, but it did get picked up on Google Colab. So now what we do is we predict on our test set. And what we're looking for is Y hat. That's what we're looking for, is the Y hat. And then so what we did was we created a data frame with the date and the predictions on it. And we created another data frame. And what we're looking for is Y hat. And so what we did was this data frame that we created, we appended the prediction to the forecast so we could put all of that information on the chart that we're going to be creating. So you can see all of the information. The X train, X val, and X test is on that one chart. And so we plotted some more graphs, but they didn't come up. And now what I did was I just decided to check it on stats models because I had stats models on the computer anyway. So this is the naive approach. And we had RMS of 297. So that RMS is above the RMS of the FP profit. And then we checked moving average. We had an RMS of 214, so the RMS of moving average is less than the RMS of FB profit. So that's something that we need to work on. And then I had been working on it this morning, but I had to get up because I have other commitments. And so that's something else I'm going to be working on, moving average. See if I can calculate this on the moving average and improve the accuracy that way. And then so now what we just wanted to do is we wanted to look at the moving average. Now what we're looking at is, it says right here, it says, so we were just looking at the moving average forecast and to see what it said, and it was all 312. And now what we're looking at is vector auto regression, and that is a stats models function that allows you to use multivariate. And so in order for me to use that, I had to take the X train and drop the DS from it because that stats model function doesn't want to see it. And then I had to fill all of the null values with 0. And then I did the same thing with X val. I had to drop the DS. And then I did the same thing with X test as well. So I used the stats models model. And so we plotted it on a chart, and you can see that plot that we charted on. It doesn't look very good. and we got an RMS of 349. So that's worse than the RMS on F profit. Now we checked Varma, which is another stats models function that allows you to use multivariate time series. And then we plotted a graph for it, and that doesn't look very good, and that was 348 RMS. So let's just see what the previous RMS was. The previous RMS was 349, so the Varma was just slightly better than the VAR, but the moving average was actually better than FP profit. So I decided that I wanted to study the moving average and see if I can predict on this using the moving average. And I was doing a little bit of it this morning, but then I had to get up because I had other responsibilities. So that concludes our code review for the FB profit, where we're predicting upon the next steps. And you can see that it's greatly improved when you use the new cases as an independent variable. It really improves the target variable, which is new deaths. So I'm going to be making a blog post on this, and when I make the blog post, then what I will do is I will leave a link to the blog post on the this file on my GitHub account on my blog post, and so you can look at the file then. And so that means that you have to actually read my blog post. So that concludes this code review. If you like my code review and my video, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you like the work I do and you want to leave a donation, then I've got my email account to my email address to my PayPal account in the description box down below. I don't have enough subscribers to monetize, which is why I have to ask for donations. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I look forward to making more videos and blog posts on this subject for you in the future.